have reached the starting gate. It's post time. Cold front, the favorite comes forward. And they're into the stretch. Cold front put to the 10. Cold front does it again. Fires the field in the Amsterdam.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Spa Babies, presented by Spendthrift. I'm Dan Illman, along with Nicole Russo, and the Spa Baby race for Sunday, August the 21st, is a good one. Race number 9's the Bolton Landing. We're going 5.5 furlongs on the Mellon Turf Course. Let's take a look at this field. It is a big field. It is a good betting race. No surprise that Wesley Ward has some quality 2-year-old turf horses, especially the fillies. Love Reigns, the 2. No K, Never, the 3. They both have big speed.
Absolutely. And, you know, Love Reigns, one of a couple of horses in here who made the trip over to Royal Ascot in June in England, and really just an eclectic group here in terms of their experience. We've got fillies who have run kind of all over the Northeast and Midwest at a number of tracks, and then those couple who have made, you know, the trip overseas to England and back. So really an interesting group in terms of putting them together on the same turf course and evaluating the experiences they've had.
We're used to seeing trainer Michael Maker claim horses, move them up on turf into stakes races and make hay. I wonder if Tom Morley can do it off of Maker. If anyone can do it, it's Tom, who's had a great amount of success claiming horses and placing them in the right spot over the last few years. He's going to do it with the 1, Sicilian Grandma, who is an impressive winner for $50,000 earlier this meet. This is a daughter of Army Mule, a first crop sire who is pretty quick on the main track.
Yeah, and you know, I do think that the Army Mules might be able to transfer their ability to the turf. There was a lot of wet track ability in that family through sire Frisian Fire and others. Sometimes wet track ability can transfer over to the turf in terms of how a horse is built and how they move and how their feet are constructed. There's also a lot of international breeding behind this pedigree, both behind Frisian Fire and then behind Broodmere sire Mazel Trick. So, you know, I do think that if you get the right Army Mule, they will be able to transfer that ability over to the turf. This one's stepping up in class for the Morley barn, but a very good horseman who knows, you know, when he sees a good horse, you know, for a claim and where to spot them afterward.
Perhaps a fast pace would work to this one's advantage. It was nice to see her pass horses when winning her second lifetime start. Army Mule already has a first turf winner, and the Dam was a stakes winner on synthetic. Sometimes that synthetic form translates nicely to turf, but it's never a be-all, end-all situation. The 2 is Love Reigns, and like many Wesley Ward trained horses, debut winner at Keeneland. This one going 5.5 on the turf, never gave him a chance. This one showed big early speed in the Queen Mary, Nicole, and just got a little bit tired at the end. Considering the quality of that field, and it was only her second start, I thought she ran quite well.
Absolutely. Beaten only 3 lengths while running fourth against some very good fillies over there at that renowned meeting, has come back, has worked sharply, including locally on the Saratoga turf, it looks like. And, you know, I do like that debut win, they were going 5.5 instead of some of these shorter races early on. I think despite not having raced since June, this filly is going to have a nice foundation under her.
She really has a lovely pedigree filled with classy turf influences. And again, that speed she showed at Royal Ascot was really easy, and I would expect her to show speed once again under a Rad Ortiz. Her uncoupled stablemate is the 3, No K, Never, a debut winner for Wesley at Horseshoe Indianapolis. As we take a look at this race, she just went right to the front, opened up with a plum on the turn, kept right on going. Respectable enough 61 Beyer speed figure. Now, this race was back in May, but as you've mentioned, Wesley's really good placing these 2-year-olds and freshening them up after a race or two. I would expect her to show some speed as well. Tyler Gaffalione takes them out.
Yeah, absolutely. And beat a next out winner at Indiana as well. So you mentioned that 61 Beyer speed figure, and I think that's more than respectable when you look at, you know, kind of what she beat and the speed she showed. Interesting pedigree note on this one by No Nay Never, who's a very good 2-year-old sire that Wesley Ward himself conditioned. this one's a half to the graded winner, True Valor, who we most recently saw finishing second to Wesley Ward's Golden Pal in the Troy at Saratoga, and, you know, giving that one a pretty good fight. So interesting to see, you know, Wesley Ward with the half sister in his barn.
Nicole, you're absolutely right. True Valor is a true war horse. Earlier in his career, yes, he was a good middle distance runner, but he sort of resuscitated his career as a turf sprinter, and he fights hard to the wire, it seems, every time. And No K Never may show that tenacity in the stretch on Sunday. The 4 is Kerry, who was a turf sprint winner in the second lifetime start at Belmont, and then ran in the Colleen last time out where she was the favorite. And maybe she didn't like being in between horses in that race. I was a little bit disappointed with the performance, but it's way too early to give up on this daughter of Practical Joke.
Absolutely. You know, these young horses, they're still learning with every race, no matter how good they look in a maiden win or, you know, a couple starts in. They are still learning. They are still having new experiences. So I'm always willing to forgive a young horse at this stage of their career if they throw, you know, a seeming clunker. Carrie is getting Joelle Rosario aboard as she comes to Saratoga for Christophe Clement, and they can be a potent combination, especially with these young horses.
The 5 Grand Oak is cross-centered at Woodbine on Saturday. We'll see if she participates here. This will be her first race for trainer Graham Motion. After running in the Queen Mary at Royal Ascot and finishing behind Love Reigns, she went through the auction ring at Fasig-Tipton and sold for $210,000. And when Graham purchases a horse, I pay attention. He's a great appraiser of horse flesh. And Grand Oak ran really well in her turf race in the States, too, back at Churchill.
Absolutely. You know, ran really well breaking her maiden there. And, you know, yes, she finished behind Love Reigns at Royal Ascot, but, you know, really cannot overstate, you know, the level of competition that is at those races at Royal Ascot. They can have, you know, huge, sizable fields as well. It's really a tall order for a 2-year-old to, you know, make that trip over there to face different training and racing conditions and to, you know, come out with a good effort. So yes, while it moves a horse up in my estimation, as it does with Love Reigns when they turn in a creditable effort, with a horse like Grand Oak, who just, you know, didn't do much running that day, I'm also very willing to draw a line through it and move on as they come back to the States.
Up next is a horse, Nicole, I think you liked a little bit in her career debut earlier this meet. Let's watch the 6. Aztec Knights win from off the pace in one of those maiden auction races. Boy, John Velasquez gave her a lovely ride in this race, the old in-out trip. She gets into the clear. She finishes off and showed a lot of professionalism. Ricardo Santana Jr. picks up the mount for Wayne Catalano.
Yeah, and you know, I do believe that she's the only, and while we are stepping up in class from sort of that restricted auction company here into a stakes race, she is the only one in this field, I believe, who's got a win on this turf course. So that could be beneficial as we bring together this group of fillies, as we mentioned, from all over. And Shark Azteca really just can do no wrong right now. He's got stakes winners from his first crop, sprinting on both dirt and turf. Certainly the son of New York's dominant turf sire, Freud, you know, brought in all the tools to be a multi-surface sire, and that's certainly coming to fruition here.
I was taken with the career debut of the number 7, Redefined, to win at 6 furlongs on the inner turf at Belmont. Let's watch that race right now. It's a 6-horse field, and again, we're used to these 2-year-olds just showing blazing early speed and running the competition off of their feet, but Redefined was like an old soul in here. She rated off the pace, came on the outside, and ran them down, a respectable 66 buyer for a very good horseman in Tony Dutrow.
Yeah, and you want to talk about good horseman. Johnny Velasquez is picking up the mount as well after being on a couple others in this field. And Redefined, I liked that she showed the ability to professionally handle some adversity because she did brush the gate breaking, which, you know, we do see some 2-year-olds have a little bit of trouble at the start and sort of not figure it out and recover from it, especially in sprint races early on in their careers. But Redefined, as you said, just behaved with such professionalism throughout.
She's by the consistently competitive, rock-solid, More Than Ready. The number 8 is Danse Macabre. This is a filly by Army Mule, who won her turf debut at Colonial in her second lifetime start. She has good tactical speed. Her dam won 3 turf races. She sold up for $55,000 in March. And Luis Saez takes the mount. She's kind of an under-the-radar horse in this race.
Absolutely. And, I think she's coming out of some good races as well. Her debut on the dirt at Churchill Downs, which, whether this filly's going to ultimately prefer the turf or the dirt, kind of hard to say because she has run well on both surfaces. Army Mule, I think, could be a multi-purpose sire. But, she ran well on dirt at Churchill there. Finished second to Summer Promise, who came back to run very well in the Schuylerville early in the meet. The third place finisher has already come back to win, then won her turf debut at Colonial. And Colonial, it's really rising in esteem here. And I think the meet is producing some very good 2-year-olds. I think it's kind of, we're not talking about it in the vein as a Saratoga or a Del Mar, but I think it's quietly got a very, very good 2-year-old program.
There have always been high hopes for this filly. She breezed a quarter mile in 20 4/5 before that March auction. The 9 is Sweet Harmony. She's a daughter of Bayern, who won on dirt, and then she won the Colleen on turf. And this was a nice performance because she handled some pace pressure in the early part of this race and just shrugged them off and kept right on going to win. She breezed a furlong in 9 4 before her sale. She is very quick. John Terranova is having a nice meet from limited opportunities at Saratoga. And I think this filly under Javier Castellano could be in the thick of things turning for home.
Absolutely. I mean, she's perfect so far, and she's already beaten a couple of these in the Colleen. So a little bit of what she's been doing and what what you're getting. And picking up Javier Castellano, who's having an outstanding Saratoga meet himself, and 8-1 on the morning line for a filly who's already beaten some of these, you're going to have to watch the board, but might be an outstanding value for you.
Classic Spendthrift pedigree on the outside. The 10 Motown Mischief by Malibu Moon out of an Into Mischief mare, a debut winner over the synthetic at Presque Isle Downs. We just saw her. She was the horse that was dueling with Sweet Harmony in the Colleen and couldn't keep up with that foal late. So she's going to have to improve off of that effort.
She is, but we've talked quite a bit this summer about trainer Tim Ham, who is based in Ohio, and he has sent some very good 2-year-olds to Saratoga over the last couple of years who have run well at some big prices. He doesn't come here just to run in these races. When he brings a horse in, it's because they're doing well and because he thinks he has them placed right. So you always have to sit up and take a little bit of notice, I think, of his 2-year-olds.
Top pick time for the Bolton Landing, our Sunday Spa Baby race presented by Spendthrift. And we're in agreement. We like Wesley Ward with a 2-year-old. I think a lot of folks do. Love Reigns the 2. I think is going to show some speed. I think she's pretty good.
Absolutely. As I said, the key to this race for me was trying to figure out what these horses have been facing. And to me, Love Reigns, it was just a bit of Occam's razor. I thought it was the simplest way to go for the horse who has run at one of the best race meetings in the world and ran very well against some nice horses.
You're going 2, 6, 3, and 9. I'm going to use the 8 Danse Macabre. I think you made an excellent point about how the Colonial 2-year-old maiden program has really moved forward the last few years. And I think she comes out of a quality race. So 2, 8 for me. Nicole's going with Love Reigns as well over Aztec Knights. It should be a fun edition of the Bolton Landing on Sunday, your Spa Baby race.